Friday night game. We've got Air Force taking on Wyoming. Air Force, 17-point road favorites now. That's up from 15, 49.5 the total in this game. So Air Force cashed a ticket for me last week, and I am not going in front of this team right now. They are that good. They can win the Mountain West Conference. Zeke Daniels and that triple option, that offensive line is blowing people off the line of scrimmage. That O-line is getting the job done for Air Force, and it was an experienced O-line coming into the season. You watched that game last Saturday against Colorado. Colorado was just getting bowled over their defensive line. They had no shot in the trenches in that game against Air Force, and it was just downhill run game the entire way for Air Force. It was very impressive, and they've got a throwing element too. Zeke can throw the ball a little bit, so this is a triple. This is one of the better Air Force teams, I think, in a very long time. I've been very impressed with this group. Wyoming, on the flip side, is definitely not a team I'm looking to back personally. Now, they did have the big upset win against Tulsa, 40-37, but they got crushed by Illinois in their opener. They did beat Northern Colorado FCS squad 33-10 last week. You don't want to put too much into that. I think they're probably going to be up against it here, facing Air Force. It is worth noting, last year, Air Force was only a 5.5-point favorite against Wyoming, and they won by 10, 24-14. So you wonder, are you getting value here with Air Force? But I don't know if I trust Wyoming here necessarily going into this game. You look at Wyoming on the defensive side of the football. They've been struggling against potent ground attacks. Let's not forget what Wyoming allowed on the ground to Chase Brown and Illinois. And I've got visions of that still in my head going into this game. You got absolutely crushed with your run defense, and now you got to go up against this triple option Air Force, a ground attack, which is just dominating right now. That could be tricky here for Wyoming. So I don't know if I'll get to the window again with Air Force. They're certainly a one-way team for me right now. Betting on them or I pass the game. They're that good. I've got them to win the conference as a future. I've got them over their win total. I think that highly of this team this year. There's no way I'm stepping in front of them, especially not with this Wyoming team. What do you think here, Conor Mack, Air Force, Wyoming?
Yeah, Air Force just took care of business for all of us, First half, full game. Shout out to DJ Big Boss.
You liked it? Game. I think we were all on it. I mean, the whole pub
we all were on
the Saturday show. I think we all had a piece of Air Force there. Yep.
Yeah, they took care of business, and they are, I think, the real deal, maybe the best here in the Mountain West. And that's the thing, the offensive line they'll just be able to run wild, I think, here. The problem is, you mentioned it, Ian, 5.5, last year. To me, where I would want Air Force is almost under double digits. I think now when you're going to start going over 17, a key number, 17.5 maybe, in favor by Air Force, that's dicey because even though Wyoming's this bad, their offense is getting a little better. I know they beat that wild game with Tulsa at home, Northern Colorado, but this is where they're great, is at Laramie. So I'd be everyone that's just jump on Air Force, I think they win this football game. But man, to lay this many there and cover, I'm not so sure. Peasley, obviously they're playing Northern Colorado, looks a little bit better, and they just run it well. So at home at night, Friday night, Air Force should be able to run all over them. But I don't know. The cover might not be there. So I'm going to be off. Maybe if this goes higher, I might grab the points with Wyoming. I mean, they play that different at home.
It's never an easy place to play. Laramie, Wyoming. There's no question about that. Look at, of course, when they played Tulsa, they got the upset outright as home underdogs in that game. So, yeah, it's not easy to play there. Peasley, we'll have to see how he fares here because I think this is a great secondary. And, like I've said, the Service Academy teams usually don't have good secondaries, good pass defenses. Air Force is the exception. They've played very well in terms of defending the pass this year. So Peasley could make mistakes. The run, the whole team has been good. The defense has been good. Their offense has been bowling teams over. Do you know what was impressive, Conor, about last week when that win? It's not so much they won and covered 41-10. They made multiple mistakes. They turned the ball over multiple times, Air Force.
Oh, yeah. I was going to bring that up. Yeah, they had 3 fumbles.
They lost the turnover battle, negative in the turnover margin in that game, and they still won and covered. They won by 31. They covered as 17-point favorites, even with those mistakes, even with those turnovers. And they were still plus 317 in total yards over Colorado in that victory. Yeah. So just think of how dominant they could have been if they hung on to the football.